If we ever get to the point where we started talking about he's a black Jew, he's a black Catholic, he's a black Baptist, he's a black Muslim, really, save for the titles that the papers put on people, then we're in trouble. Our real religion, and the thing that connects us all, is our blackness. The religion of blackness. That's it.
What we must understand is that all of these people are the same people.
From about 24 members and supporters of the Sons of Confederate Veterans.
Regardless how the next person feel, I'm not gonna take my flag down. If I got anything to do with it, ain't no monument gonna come down.
Daniel Sims says he was adopted as a child.
My whole family's white. Went to all white school, grew up in an all white neighborhood. My grandfather was white, and he was the main one that fought in this war here. And he's taught me everything I know.
He explains how he'd feel if the statues and flag were relocated.
It may make my blood boil if they just come up here and feel like they can just tear it down. I don't see me still living if they do that right there. That monument ain't hurting nobody. That monument ain't killing a soul. It ain't talking bad to nobody. It ain't even racist.
But
said that gangbanging is worse than slavery.
Yeah, yeah. And they keep saying, well, slavery lasts 400 years. They gave the slaves somewhere to live. Even black people own slaves. They just didn't beat the slaves because they needed the slaves to be healthy. They taught the slaves. Eventually, they ended up teaching the slaves how to read. They didn't wake up every day and say, hey, let's go kill slaves. No. And only a small portion of white people really own slaves. That's what most people don't want to believe, and that's what most people don't know. It's a small percentage of white people who own slaves.
Where would I start? Well, first of all, they're lazy, good-for-nothing tricksters, crack-smoking swindlers, big butt-having, wide-nose breathing on the white man's air. They eat up all the chicken, they think they're the best dancers, and they stink.
What if I were to tell you that you are an African-American?
Sir, listen, I'm going to make this clear. I'm in no way, shape, or form involved in any negative.
Not the conditions, because we are in way better conditions than our ancestors before us. But for us to have this mindset, my nigga, yeah, we either got to be killed or re-enslaved. I believe that with all my heart. When you look at black people today, there's nothing that can convince me we'll ever be great again. And the actions and the inactions of black people today, I don't see us being great again. I don't see us create no new inventions that'll put us back in the forefront of
repercussions when you say certain things. Listen, I don't know Kyrie Irving. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I think he's been suspended, rightfully so, and I think he should come back and play in the NBA. But, you know, that's a really slippery slope because, you know, people always talk about freedom of speech, freedom of effect, or you say whatever you want.
Here it is, my test results. Can you hear my heart beating? Oh, the white man's science is amazing, ain't it? Oh, no, this can't be. It says I'm 102% African with a 2% margin of error. Why, Lord? Why, Lord? Why?
The president feels like it's important that we sit down and have a conversation with this new administration to see if there's something we can work out. Not President Obama, just his transition team from the White House. I said, okay, cool. Next thing I know, the Trump administration transition team gets in touch with the Obama transition team. My name come up. So on January 13th, they asked me to come.
Nigga, what you want?
I want you over my house cutting my grass like you're supposed to be.
Well, too bad for you, because I just took another job. And even though they don't pay hardly nothing, working for white folks look way better on my resume.
Damn it, this is the 4th week in a row you canceled on me. The yard looks like a jungle.
Well, Chim Chim, you 3 vine swingers should feel right at home. I'll be there when the white man don't need me no more. And let this be yet another reminder that no matter how much money you got, you still just a nigger.
Weed. You come on that, and then you come on TV, you come on national TV. Oh, Stephen A., he gotta look out. Look out for what? Weed? Weed? Really? You can't smoke weed. Period. Weed. Stay off the weed. Who are you, Snoop Dogg in a green room? I mean, what the hell is going on?
Allow me to partologize myself. Suppositorily speaking, my incarceration has forced, you understand, the ventilation of, shall I say, my dairy air. And upon my discharge, I will ejaculate my mind to the prophylactic of the bowels of society.
Your reaction to all of this?
I'm pretty pissed off. And let me say this. I'm pissed off, but not for reasons that people would think. I'm very, very fond of Jerry Jones. And I'm not hiding that from anybody. Is his record perfect? No. But I'm pissed off because he doesn't deserve what just happened.
The man clearly has an issue. If you remember when he had made his remarks about Peyton Manning during the season, prior to Peyton Manning coming up there to play, returning back to Indianapolis to play the Colts, I said that he looked a bit off.
He did.
And I left it at that.
You better leave it at that or you won't have a job. Where's that same energy?
Now, day 5, man, I want the medicine. I'm there. I submit, Toby. Yeah, I was comfortable before I went in. Nigga, I went to holler at Toby. No, nigga, I see what they'll do. Nigga, when you bad. Nigga, I was the bad. So, hold up, how you get out this shit? Take the medicine.
Listen, man, it's too important to the movement.
This is the guru, the mental pugilist, coming at you, dropping jewels as usual. I have seen people on different platforms all over this thing we call the internet always talking greasy about black people. Black and white people. Black and white people. Talking greasy about black people. Like if there was a better people. And I'm not trying to be racist or anything like that, so I'm not going to say black people are better or they superior. I'm going to just give you some evidence, right? So I tell people all the time, don't take my word for it because I'm not going to tell you the truth. Giuliani said the truth is not the truth. Rudolph Giuliani. He said the truth is not the truth. So I'm not going to give you the truth. I'm not going to give you any facts because Kellyanne Conway, that was part of the Trump administration, she said they have alternate facts. She said we have alternative facts. Okay, so I'm not going to give you any facts, and I'm not going to tell you the truth. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you evidence. And you can't dispute the evidence. All right? You can't dispute the evidence. I'm going to give you evidence. Indisputable evidence. So check this out. When you have cats saying craziness about black people and have no idea who black people are, everybody else know except the imbecile, the idiot, or the moron. They don't know who black people are. And I use those three terms interchangeably, specifically because if you know anything about eugenics, they called people imbeciles, morons, and idiots and based them in that category. Feeble, feeble-minded people. Okay? That's what Judge Oliver Wendell Holmes had said. Feeble-minded people. It was enough of them. And he was, he made a law against it. He set the precedence for the law against it. And these are the people that I'm trying to not even understand, because you're not going to understand these type people. But these are the people that I'm addressing. Make it simple, make it plain, okay? The colonizers, the explorers, the settlers, these guys were nation builders. Okay, nation builders. Richard Hakluyt, who was a geographer in England, he tried to convince, or he did convince, the Queen. He had an argument for the Queen on why they needed the New World, why they should go with the plan of these guys, Sir Walter Raleigh and, Stanley and all these other explorers, why they needed to colonize a new world. They were already in Africa, but why did they have to get a new world? Because they couldn't send poor whites in droves to Africa. They couldn't do that. Queen Elizabeth, King James II, and King Charles I, they could not stand poor whites, specifically the Irish. Could not stand them. Okay? So, King Charles, along with this guy named Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector, Oliver Cromwell, he wasn't a king, but he was pretty much a king. When he went through Ireland, he killed hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and the ones that were standing, he sent to the New World. Specifically, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Barbados, eventually Jamaica. They got to Jamaica, and plenty to the colony of Virginia. Because the Virginia Company, a corporation, was financing and pretty much running this system itself. Okay? So when Oliver Cromwell and King Charles sent all of these poor Irish, to the New World to help build the New World. Because remember, these guys were nation builders. Nation builders. So they needed labor. So they got these poor whites to build these colonies in different parts of the world. Well, it didn't work. The whites, these poor whites, were weak. They were dying in droves. It just wasn't working. They just couldn't do it. So I had someone ask me. He was like, "Oh, slavery is a farce, pretty much." Okay. He said, "Why would anybody go get people all the way across the Atlantic, know that half of their cargo is going to be depleted by the time they get back, and it's going to take them 6 months?" He said, "Why would they do that?" I said, "Well, let me answer the question." And I said, the reason why they went all the way across the Atlantic is because they had the whites from England to do the job in this new world. They couldn't do the job. They failed epically. They failed on a massive basis. Nothing was going to get built. There wasn't going to be no what we consider U.S. today. None of that. Or Brazil, none of that. All these other Caribbean islands, none of that. So, they knew that those people on the other side of the world, or across the Atlantic, actually built civilizations. They've actually built nations. And they seen, they had stabilized nations over there. They were already colonizing Africa. So they seen what those black slaves would do. Okay? They seen what they was about. So they went and got the A-team. That's who we are. The A-team. That's first of all. Because, let me tell you, a white Irish slave will cost 5 sterling. Right? A black African slave, the child, a 7-8-year-old child will cost 15, 20 sterling. And then a big buck or a woman that could breed, they're going up, beyond 50 sterling. Okay? So they went across the Atlantic, spent more money, knew that cargo wasn't going to be full when they got here, because a lot of people was going to die off, but they still went and got them because, again, this is the A-team. The Irish that was here to do the work in the 1600s, they could not do the work. You didn't get any you didn't get any white and black and racial stuff going on until 1676, Bacon's Rebellion. Okay? That's first of all. So I ain't gonna go past that. That's first of all. After the country was up and running and we had the American Revolution, George Washington didn't want any blacks to fight. Because he was like, well, why would, that doesn't make any sense. Why would we give arms to people that we are oppressing? But they were losing so bad that they had to let the black people fight. And guess what? They won the war. America won the war. So my point is, there hasn't been a time in American history that we haven't been number one. There hasn't been a time in history that we have not been number one. So again, remember what I said, it's a race. Everybody know who we are. It's the imbeciles, the idiots, and the morons that don't. Okay, so boom, I'm gonna move on. In the 1900s, early 1900s, 1907 to around 1915, right? You already had pugilism, boxing, that was the premier sport at the time. If your people were the top boxers, you're Irish, you're the top boxers, don't mess with those Irish guys, they're tough. If you was Italian, top boxers, don't mess with those Italian guys. Polish, so on and so forth, right? They never wanted to give a black guy a shot at the title. Never. Here comes Jack Johnson, constantly badgering Tommy Burns, the heavyweight champion of the world, and eventually Tommy gave him a shot. Jack Johnson, Michael Jordan, before Michael Jordan. Jack Johnson was like 6'1", bald head, gold teeth, fucking white women and knocking out white men. At their standard. Remember, boxing was the world standard. If you was the top boxer, your people was the top people. Eventually, Jack gave up the title in 1915 in Cuba. And when he lost the fight, he laid out, took his hand across his face to block out the sun, he said, and then he lifted up one leg and just chilled. So if you're really knocked out, man, you're knocked out. You don't have consciousness to do all of that. Okay? So he gave that up because they was on him so bad. Now, that was their standards. Again, we're showing you who we are. This is the most important time I'm about to tell you ever in sports history. Ever for black people. The 1936 Olympics. Okay? The Hitler Olympics. Aryan race, white supremacy, is the first and last time you're going to hear me say that word, at its finest. All of the German propaganda. Now, you know what's so crazy about that? Is that in 1850, Thomas Jefferson was saying how the Germans were unintelligent to be in America. They swarthy complexion. And they were going to be demeaning to America, or to what we were trying to, the 13 colonies. What we were trying to do at the time. He didn't want no Germans in. He said they were unintelligent. But 100 and so odd years later, almost 100 years later, Hitler is saying that other people are not fit to be in Germany. So race and all that shit is bullshit, you know what I'm saying, to begin with. But getting to the point. The 1936 Olympics. The U.S. government sent 18 black athletes to the Olympics. 18. 10 of them got medals. 8 of them gold. Now, in the premier sport, track and field, in the Olympics, the premier sport is track and field. If you're the fastest, you can jump the highest, you're the baddest, you're the best in the world. Your people, your country. So America, again, when they want to show their exceptionalism, who do they send? They don't send a bunch of German contingent. They don't send a whole Jewish contingent. They don't send an Italian contingent. I don't have nothing against these people, but they sent 18 black people that didn't even have the facilities, the equipment to train properly to do what they did. Okay? But again, 10 of them got medals. 18 went, 10 of them got medals. 8 of them gold. And Jesse Owens did not win 1 gold medal in track and field. Jesse Owens did not win 2 gold medals in track and field. Jesse Owens bust their ass and blew them out and won 4 gold medals in the premier sport. And the German brother that was competing against him, you see I said German brother, right? The German brother that was competing against him knew that he was no match for Jesse. So he just helped Jesse when Jesse kept, having a misstep on one of the events. I think it was the long jump. He helped Jesse because he knew he wasn't a match for this man. Okay? So every time America wanted to show or needed exceptionalism, they came to black people. When the French tried to play like black people were stupid and dumb, Thomas Jefferson didn't go get any Greeks, Italians, Germans. No. He went and got Benjamin Banneker. And not only that, he got Benjamin Banneker to lay out the formation of Washington, D.C. Listen, people, stop playing with me. If you don't know who black people are, it's enough research out there. It's enough, information out there for you to go figure it out and go find out. Again, it's a race. We don't have money. No, the biggest transfer of wealth was, early in the 1500s when we were colonized, when Africa was colonized. But the biggest stick-up, the biggest organized stick-up was the Berlin Conference in 1884 to 1885, the summit, the conference. Berlin, I call it the big stick-up. Because that's when they got together and said, you know what? We're going to take all this. So even when I find African brothers and sisters talking greasy about black Americans, I say, okay, you know what? You know, you can give us that you know, we were enslaved in a country. All right, we were enslaved in a country, yes. But Otto von Bismarck got together, the Chancellor of Germany got together with 13, 14 other countries and took over your whole continent. Took over your whole continent and until this day, some French countries, some African countries colonized by the French still have to pay them. You're paying back reparations. So please don't ever talk greasy about black Americans, because they took your whole continent and took your and with the French, they just made you Frenchmen. They took your language, your culture. With the British, they just pulled strings on you, did the rope-a-dope and the okey-doke, and, you know, they let you think that you were, you know, ruling yourself. And we were protecting you. You know, that's what the Africans were signing. They were signing treaties of protection. So please, don't ever talk Africans, don't ever talk greasy about black Americans, please. You know, anybody, Dominicans, you know, anybody that don't identify with black people and the struggle of black people as a whole and our accomplishments, don't talk greasy. Because if you tell me your ethnic group, I'll tell you when you was oppressed. Because see, people always concentrate on the transatlantic slave trade, but there was a bunch of slave trades. We were the last group of people to be let out of bondage. That's all it is. So that's why I said when it comes to slavery and all that shit, yeah, you can talk that slavery shit, but you got to say that we were the A-team, because the white people that they brought here could not do the job. You have to say that. You have to say that we were more expensive. You know what I'm saying? You have to say the reason why we're treated like we're treated today is because of who we are. And I'm not saying we're the best. I'll give you evidence. Okay, I'll give you evidence.
And he says it himself, if you read his works, that there's a whole bunch of niggas that don't like me. Black folks like me, but not